Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and as always, as the leader of the pack, I'm scouring the countryside looking for business spotlights, leadership tips, resources that'll help you scale your business, move you closer to achieving your dreams, and why you're on the entrepreneurial path. Today, has been a crazy week, hasn't it? To say the least. We've been talking about supply chain disruptions off and on for a while now, and today, there's been more announcements. We've got a quick article we're going to take a look at on, how the auto industry has been impacted. Toyota for a long time stayed ahead of a lot of other companies because they planned in advance and had, because of what they learned from some of their natural disasters that they've had over the last decade. They planned in advance to make sure that they had better safety stock on computer chips and electronics that were crucial to the build of their vehicles. But even now, the global electronics shortage is particularly for microelectronics, computer chips, microcontrollers, all the different things, the stuff that runs your cell phone. I'm a recovering engineer, so I have to be careful. I'll start geeking on the electronics. That was my undergrad and in early days in my career. But the thing is, the brains behind a lot of the stuff that we use is in short supply right now. And a lot of that has to do with fallout from the great shutdown in 2020 and things that are continuing to happen into 2021. Toyota announced a 40% cutback in their production as a result of these shortages. It's pretty intense. It's the largest automobile manufacturer in the world. Ford is closing the production plant in, I believe it's Kansas City. We'll come to the article in just a second, for their Ford F-150 trucks. That's the best-selling vehicle in the United States. They're stopping production on August 23rd. That's Monday. They're going to close the plant for a week and then open it back up. Let me bring some info here. Got something to share. Going to read this to you. So here we're looking at an article from our good friends at autoblog.com. There's a lot of great information. I always recommend you check them out. You can go over and take a look at this. So just real briefly, I'm going to come back to what some of the senators are doing, but here's some of the highlights. And again, I'm going to look over here and read some of this to you. So looking at, the impact that's having, the 40% cutback, Ford announcing that they're going to close the plant for a week. That is massively expensive. You still got payroll for that. Imagine that, closing your business down. You still got to pay all your fixed costs, payroll and everything. But you can't, put stuff into your pipeline because it's not selling. It's backing up so bad that you've got to wind down operations. Services, easier to scale, but with actual products, where you're building stuff, man, this is massive. They filled up their parking lots with trucks. So this has been ongoing. This is not like it just all of a sudden happened, but it hasn't been getting a lot of press unless you're paying attention to these specific. It's got me tongue tied. This is just 5-alarm. Look what's going on, because it's affecting the automobile industry massively. Because they just can't complete the vehicles. So they've been parking them. This has been going on for well over a month from the articles that I've been seeing. Let me drop this back down for you here. For well over a month, couple of months, from articles that I've been seeing with different manufacturers here in the United States. Toyota, as I mentioned, has been doing better, but now they're cutting back 40%. And it's not because no one's buying the cars. It's because they don't have the parts for the cars. So think about that. What's going to happen 3 months from now, when usually you have the big end of year sales, right? What's going to happen 3 months from now when those cars are still sitting waiting for parts and they're not out on dealership floors? You're looking for new vehicles for your business? You need new transportation? You need more trucks? Using F-150s. If you're running a construction company, that may be one of your trucks of choice. Whether it is or not, whatever vehicle you have is vehicle of choice. It's being affected by this. Is that going to be available? Are you considering buying vehicles either for personal use or for your business use 6 months from now? Think about that. What will happen if the pipeline of vehicles available for sale continues to dry up? Last year there was a huge spike in the price of used cars. That's flattened out. It hasn't gone back to what it was, but the rate of increase is flattened out. Here comes the price increases on the cars. Think about that. How is that going to affect you? Are you planning for this kind of stuff? Do you need electronics or equipment that uses electronics in order to scale your business over the next 18 months? So this is where we start talking more about why that 18 months is so important. We've known that the withdrawal in Afghanistan was coming, to talk about the elephant in the room right now. It was coming. We've known that for months, and it wasn't clear how that was going to turn out. Now we know. So that adds a lot to international chaos with what's going on there. This isn't a political comment. This is just the reality. There's a big mess in Central Asia that's going to affect supply chains more because of the chaos that's happening in that region right now. And as that continues to unfold, it's going to affect batteries. China already is the biggest supplier of a lot of the rare earth elements, the nastiest, dirtiest, most polluting things that go into batteries. Afghanistan has $1 trillion. Let me let that sink in. $1 trillion worth of mineral wealth that China has been they've been in talks for a while, but now it's coming to the forefront that China is going to work with whoever's running Afghanistan on mining. So that doesn't immediately affect what's going into the marketplace. What it does do is it immediately gives China more control over the source of those materials that are needed to make the batteries that are going into your cell phone, your car, your computer, everything that's running rechargeable batteries and other components. Now, again, this isn't a political comment. This is a supply chain comment. So you have a single sole source that is growing in monopolistic influence on the source. So what does that do? That creates risk in the supply chain that also pushes prices up. So look for more inflation. We've been talking about inflation, and hopefully, don't tell me you haven't been working on getting your margins up. You got to do that. You got to focus on operations. Got to focus on how you're marketing value in order to get your revenue up, your per sale revenue up, so that you can charge more. I would highly recommend that you find ways to move to the top of your market, become the premium, the most expensive. If you think that's a bunch of hooey, we need to talk about that. Let's see how we're doing on comments here. Okay. And feed your comments. If you're watching this live, I want to hear from you. This is live and interactive. If you're watching a replay, still want to read your comments. Keep an eye on comments and love to interact that way, and also have you part of the next broadcast conversation. So looking at these things, these are two big impacts that are going to affect this. Why over the next 18 months? We knew this was coming. There's more things that are coming up. Next year is a midterm election year. There's going to be a lot of stuff that rolls out. There's going to be a lot of market interventions and things that happen just because that happens every political cycle. It's more severe in presidential cycles here in the United States, but it still happens in the midterms. So there is going to be things happening. For example, coming back to the article that I shared with you at the beginning of this talk, on the computer chips going into cars, you've got three senators are attempting to find a political solution with Taiwan for what is a production and supply chain issue. Doesn't have anything to do with politics. The factories, the foundries, as they're called, that make the computer chips, have been doing everything they can to scale up. It takes 18 months to get a new facility online and producing to add capacity. So part of the problem is being able to spool up capacity. There's other supply chain issues that prevent them from getting more out, but it's still part of the hangover from shutting everything down in 2020 and then having to suddenly ramp back up and have the political expectation that, hey, you know what? Well, we flipped the switch. How come the parts aren't here already? Well, guess what? There's lead times. There's stuff that's not back online. They can't be brought back online because of different policies that are happening in different parts of the world, partly because of the continued pandemic responses, partly because of political things that are happening. It's still disrupting your supply chain. So here's what you need to do. Looking out over these next 18 months, they're going to be chaotic, and this is just the beginning in terms of market chaos. Okay, not talking politics here, just talking about market chaos. This is just the beginning of things becoming chaotic, and there's a lot of uncertainties that will be resolved one way or the other. Unfortunately, what we're seeing going on in Afghanistan, that was an unknown because the federal government had set, excuse me, a deadline of August 31st to have this resolved. We weren't sure how that was going to play out. Now we're seeing how that plays out. There's other things like that are coming up that are go one way or the other. Inflation's either going to get better or worse. We're not sure how that's going to play out. Is it temporary or not? It appears it's not, and it's continuing to get worse. How much, how fast? We don't know. We'll know at the end of 18 months. Got to start planning now, though, because it's going to take you 6 months to get positioned, and particularly to be ahead of everybody else. If you're acting now, you're going to be ahead of everybody else in February, which is where you want to be, right? You want to be Toyota saying, hey, you know what? After nearly a year of working with this, we need to start scaling back a little bit. They're still ahead of the rest of the industry. You don't want to be shutting down operations because you ran out of chips or some other critical thing. So what do you need to scale your business over the next 18 months? Anything electronics related is going to take longer to get if you can get it. Hear that? If you can even get it, it's going to take longer to get. If the big automotive manufacturers in Detroit can't get computer chips, please let me know how you're going to get them. So think on that. You're going to have to adjust. If you haven't already, you may have. If you haven't already, you've got to adjust your planning and your supply lines. So that's the big thought for today is if you haven't done it, you've got to do the risk assessment in your supply chain, in what it takes to run your business, what it takes to scale your business, and then look at how you're going to be able to have that in hand to grow when you've got the opportunity to grow, especially if it's electronics related. If you've got anything in your business that is something that creates a limiting effect on how fast you can grow, how fast you can deliver to your customer, you need to handle that now, because in 6 months, it's likely going to be tougher to get than it is today. And right now, it's got global automobile. It's giving me heartburn. It's got global automobile manufacturers dramatically scaling back their operations. Excuse me. Oh man. I don't want to see you succeed. I don't want to see you getting stuck where you're just like going, you know what? We're out of business because we can't grow. We can't fill orders. We can't take orders because we can't get supplies. Still no guarantee, but you'll be in a better position than your competition if you're working it. So start looking at what you need electronics wise and anything that has electronics in it, which is almost everything, right? Cameras, computer equipment, cars. Start figuring out now how you're going to buy it. When do you need it? Can you pull that forward? Can you get it? Can you buy it now while it's available and before prices spike? Because if the supply line is drying out on automobiles now, they're shutting down a Ford plant. Toyota's scaling back 40%. These are announcements. Go to autoblog.com for more details on that. That's the first place that I saw that they carried a breaking story on it. Think about that, because that means in 90 days, vehicles are going to be in short supply on the dealer showroom floors, which means prices are going up. Prices have already gone up on used cars. So a lot of work for all of us. We're in this together. Looking forward to bringing more resources and tips to you. It's Friday. Don't like having a topic like this on a Friday, but guess what? This is 2021. It's game on now. We're in that 18-month window of hecticness that's going to go through the end of 2022, because now we're starting to see the resolution of things that are coming up that we didn't know how we're going to work out. I saw a big one of those play out this week, and unfortunately, it's not playing out anywhere near the way anyone would want it to. I'll just leave it at that. So thanks for joining me for Wolf's Watch. Great having you along. Please click the like button, send topics, comment. What do you want to hear about? If you think I'm saying something that's all wet, I want to hear your opinion. You want to complain? Fine. Let me know who to block, right? Critical thinking, comments, pushing back on, hey, I think that's wrong. Here's why. I welcome that. Want to get political, get into attacks and stuff like that. Please do bring it, because we know who to block so we can keep moving on. We're moving fast. You want to sit still and complain? That's great. You want to run with the big dogs? You want to be part of the pack? Run with the dire wolves? Come on, because we're running. We're running towards the future. So thanks for joining us for Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and I look forward to seeing you on Looking for the Off Switch, as always, recovering engineer. Looking forward to seeing you